to understand why.
No, but my understanding, my point is, maybe I'm not landing my plane. My point is, this is just one person who's just, whatever they're afraid of, because at the end of the day, the ruse is, you guys are talking about percentages and this and different, define for me what a fucking human is. And then anywhere in that fucking definition does it tell you about your skin tone? Of course it doesn't. We're all fucking human beings. Any scientist on this planet would agree that we're all the same. With different colors, just like cats.
But Jack thinks we're genetically programmed to fight among each other as humans, and that we're not capable of transcending that in 2024.
I didn't say any of that. You're mischaracterizing
there has
me.
got to be.
You didn't say that we were genetically programmed to fear the other. Would that not be humans fighting among themselves?
I said that we were evolutionarily programmed to, and I had never made any claims about whether or not we were able to rise above it. You made that up entirely.
Well, DEI is making that claim. DEI is making that claim.
Okay. Am I DEI?
And the whole thing I'm trying to
so the answer to that is no, and I would appreciate you if you wouldn't attribute to me
the motive.
Whatever nonsense.
Really, it's clever, girl. I should be asking this too. Why you think white people would be doing all this? And Jack said it's fear of the other. Like we fear they're still the other to us. We haven't lived with black people long enough for them to not be the other. They are somehow still the other after all the centuries of living in this country together.
All we ever deal with the problems is because it's somebody else is fearful. That's it. That's why we say. And you know what? That stupid saying, fear, the only thing you gotta fear is fear itself. I say, you know what, Jeff? Lately this year, I've learned that he's wrong when he says that, and here's why, in my opinion. Well, if you only when he says, the only thing you have to fear is fear itself, I say wrong, because you're not supposed to fear, period. So just tell fear to go fuck itself and don't fear fear. Tell fear to go fuck it, and you don't even fear fear. So he's basically saying you have to fear fear, but that's the only thing. No, fuck fear. No fear. That's my point. I don't know if anybody...
Isn't that what JFK
I don't know. I think
said?
he thinks that we're more primitive than we are. I don't know that everybody's walking around living in this primal fear of the other in 2024 America. That doesn't track with my own experience of the people that I share my country with.
Some people are afraid to cross the street in this society, Jeff. Some people are afraid to drive a car in
society. But I don't think it's the norm. I don't think it's the majority of people.
Hey, listen, I say get in where you fit in, right?
Shot in Chicago. I don't see the protests. I don't see the anger.
If I were African American, I would be outraged that more journalists aren't covering what's happening in Chicago, and more outraged that people like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson don't head to those areas.
Yes. What could explain the lack of outrage about Al Sharpton and his ilk not doing anything about black-on-black violence in Chicago?
With Chicago's violence making national headlines, a group led by the Reverend Al Sharpton plans to convene an anti-violence summit of national civil rights leaders here.
Oh, that's right, because African-American leaders did hold a summit about that in November and have met at least 3 times in the city just in the last 13 months, which is not to say it's been effective, but taken along with the president's My Brother's Keeper initiative, which attempts to address this violence and the countless vigils and marches within these violence-torn communities, means they are trying, actually, to do something. You see, you being ignorant of those attempts doesn't mean the issue itself is being ignored, in the same way that when it snows where you live doesn't mean the world isn't getting hotter.
I'm going to ban everybody.
No, personal experience is valid. We are all allowed to come on here and share our personal experience. If you don't want to hear it, you can get your ass to another channel. But nobody's going to tell me I can't share my personal experience.
Jeff, are you familiar with standpoint
If the answer to why I always come from my personal experience is because I want to. I'm an empiricist. I ground things in experience.
How else can you come from and be talking
That's not
about
empiricism.
I say fuck influences. I say bring on the experiences. You right? Influence.
I know what empiricism is, Jack. I'm experiential and empiricist. It's all tied together for me. It's not a hard concept for most people to understand. That experience is an epistemology. It's a path to knowledge.
Yeah,
it gives me the knowledge that I need to continue living my life. That is my requirement for knowledge. Like, does it feed my model to help me live my life? I'm not trying to change the universe.
Okay, that's fine. And
I often would even take my step out of the car, lift my shirt up so we could see where the gun is.
You really do have no idea, do you? You really do. Basically, you're saying, if only Michael Brown, instead of holding his hands over his head, had reached down to his waist and lifted up his shirt to show the gun he did not actually have, well, this whole tragedy could have been avoided. Do you not understand that life in this country is inherently different for white people and black people?
A lot of people are trying to make this, Dana, about black and white and trying to make this about race.
This is part of this effort to make it everything about race.
Is this a story about race? Do we know that?
I think it is playing the race card, and I think it's disgraceful.
The only racial divide that is created here is being created by the race baiters.
You know who talks about race? Racists.
Did you just, he who smelt it, dealt it, racism? Did you really? He who smelt it, dealt it, racism? All right. Forget that in Ferguson, 94% of the police are white and 63% of the people are black. Forget that 92% of police searches and 86% of car stops are for black people. Forget that the white municipal government finances nearly a quarter of its annual budget through the fines and penalties disproportionately leveled against the black portion of the population. Forget that the history of this town includes this tasty nugget.
A 52-year-old man named Henry Davis said that 4 Ferguson police officers beat him, then charged him with damaging government property because his blood had gotten on the officers' uniforms.
So let me get this straight. You guys got tanks, but you can't keep a couple of Tide sticks around? Because here's the problem with everything that's going on in this conversation. This isn't all about just one man killed in one town. It's about how people of color, no matter their socioeconomic standing, face obstacles in this country with surprising grace. Look at how upset you all get about certain things.
Tonight, Christmas under attack.
Why are we allowing anti-Christmas madness?
Why do I have to drive around with my kids to look for nativity scenes and be like, oh yeah, kids, look, there's baby Jesus behind the Festivus pole made out of beer cans. It's nuts.
Remember